So about 2 years ago, one of my friends, Claire, let me borrow this book, All About Love by Bell Hooks. And this is one of the most wonderful books out there. I don't think there's a single person that I know who's read this book and does not have raving reviews. I unfortunately was not able to finish it because I've just been struggling to read. I find it takes up too much of my brain and it exhausts me. And so I only read when I'm enjoying it, and if I don't, I just put down the book. After Mom died, I was searching for things to do that would make me feel closer to her. And Mom was such a bookworm, so I decided that I'd give reading a shot, and I came back to this book. And it's so funny because when I opened the book to see where I had stopped reading 2 years ago, it was chapter 11, Loss, Loving into Life and Death. Of course, that's the chapter that I was diving into. But honestly, I'm so glad that I decided to read, and I'm so glad that I persevered through this chapter because I was able to reflect a lot on Mom's death, but also Mom's and my relationship while she was alive. And I thought I'd share some of the words that had me reflecting in case any of you are going through grief and are in a space where you want to reflect too. So the first couple of sentences that really stood out to me were on page 192. And here Bell Hooks says, "Living with lovelessness is not a problem we openly and readily complain about. Yet the reality that we will all die generates tremendous concern, fear, and worry." These words brought me so much comfort and pride, knowing that Mom lived every single day with so much love in her heart and was never worried about dying. And I think now that I'm reading this book, the reason she was never worried about death is because she lived every day with life. She genuinely understood that life on this earth was meant to be full of love. And so for her, if she did that every day, she was really living life to the fullest. I wish more people thought about that. I wish more people who were scared of death then reflected on their life and questioned whether they were living a life full of love. And maybe if they weren't, started to work towards a life full of love. Because maybe then they wouldn't worry about that. The next sentence is on page 196. Here Bell Hooks says, "We are so much more able to embrace the loss of intimate loved ones and friends when we know that we have given our all, when we have shared with them that mutual recognition and belonging in love, which death can never change or take away." I feel like this sentence really speaks to how I feel about Mom's death. I haven't been able to articulate it to anybody until I read this sentence. I'm so grateful that Mom and I spend every single day of our lives loving each other so deeply And when I say loving each other, I don't mean that every single day was happy and every single day was peaceful, because that is definitely not the case. Mom and I had such different personalities, and we had to work very hard to have such a close relationship. Mom and I were also very honest with each other. We pushed each other to be the best versions of ourselves, and that requires some tough conversations sometimes. But I can say with such assurance that there wasn't a single day that love was not present in our relationship. And because of that, I have no regrets. I think about Mom gone, and there's nothing that I wish I said. There's nothing that I wish I did. I truly feel like we made the most out of the relationship that was gifted to us. And because of the relationship we had, while Mom is no longer with me physically, I don't feel like our relationship has disappeared. I feel like she is with me everywhere. Ever since the day of Mom's funeral, she has been more present than ever. I could literally hear her talking to me. A couple of days ago, I was really struggling to trust my intuition and my strength, and I heard my mom ask me to call my godmother, and I never talked to my godmother about my intuition and my strength, but I called my godmother, and she validated me in ways that I didn't even know I needed. All the doubts that I had just disappeared. And I'm really excited to see the ways that Mom's in my relationship blossoms, even after her death. I feel so lucky that I get to continue to have a relationship with her.
On page 201, Bell Hooks says, given that commitment is an important aspect of love, we who love know we must sustain ties in life and death. I'm so glad that Bell Hooks used the word commitment here, because that is such a big part of why I want to have a relationship with Mom. Even after her death, Mom and I were so committed to each other, and I want to honor that. I want to continue to learn from all the lessons she taught me, and I want her to get to witness what I do with my life, where I go, who I become. I really do believe that she is with me, and I think that she deserves to see the fruits of her labor. She dedicated her life to raising me, and I know that when she looked at me, she felt proud because she was able to see all the work that she had done over the years. And I want her to keep feeling that pride, because she deserves to know the mark that she left on this world. She deserves to see her legacy, and I know that her legacy is so much more than me. But I want to make sure that I'm living every day honoring the ways that she raised me. On page 202, Bell Hooks says, embracing the spirit that lives beyond the body is one way to choose life. We embrace that spirit through rituals of remembering, through ceremonies wherein we invoke the spirit presence of our dead, and through ordinary rituals in everyday life where we keep the spirit of those we have lost close. Sometimes we invoke the dead by allowing wisdom they have shared to guide our present actions, or we invoke through reenacting one of their habits of being. And the grief that may never leave us, even as we do not allow it to overwhelm us, is also a way to give homage to our dead, to hold them. I think those words make me feel so validated, because since Mom died, there really isn't a single moment that I haven't thought of her. Whether it's the regular schmegular things I do in my day, or something special, because she really touched every part of my life, and so much of who I am is her. When I brush my teeth, I think about the way that she would take the toothpaste out of the toothpaste tube, and how she would get so annoyed with me because I would do that thing where I just squeeze the toothpaste tube at any point, but she has to squeeze from the bottom up, because that ensures that there isn't leftover toothpaste at the bottom. And it was such a ridiculous thing that we would argue about, but I think about it every single day now when I brush my teeth. I really appreciate that Bell Hooks says, let me break it out. And the grief that may never leave us, because there's a part of me that wonders if I will ever stop grieving. Mom has been a part of my life since the day that I entered this world. Actually, even when I was growing in her tummy. And I don't know how to ever get over her death. One of my friends, Rachel, said something that was so comforting. She said, "You may never ever be okay, and that's okay." I'm really grateful for these reminders, because I'm not pressuring myself to get better. I'm taking things slow. I'm not looking further than a day in the future. I'm allowing myself to feel whatever I feel. I'm allowing myself to only do what I can do. And I know that so many people feel pressured to move on quick. And if that's been you, I'm so sorry that that happened to you. And I hope that watching this video reminds you that it's okay to take all the time that you need. And I know that the world we live in doesn't allow for that. I know people are like, go back to work. Let's meet up. Your mom would want you to be happy. Well, I'm not happy. And I think Mom would want me to just be myself. And I think that's more important than following anybody else's timeline. On page 203, Bell Hooks also says, "I try daily to learn to leave folks as though we might never be meeting again. This practice makes us change how we talk and interact. It is a way to live consciously." I feel like I've always tried my best to live consciously, to make sure there's love and care in every interaction that I have with people.
And to clarify, having love and care doesn't mean loving and caring others at the expense of yourself. And having love and care doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to be a positive interaction, because sometimes in order to love and care, you need to be honest with people. When people are acting out of fear or out of anger or out of hate, it's important to call them out with the hopes that they will transform into practices of love and care. Over the past few years, this is something Mom and I worked on, because we learned the hard way that there are consequences when you love others at the expense of yourself. And there are consequences to just making sure that you're keeping the peace and keeping things positive with others and not truly being honest about how you feel about their hateful or harmful actions. And I want to continue doing this. I want to experience interactions knowing that if this was my last day or their last day, that there would be nothing left to say or do.
Thank you so much for spending time with me as I reflect on loss, loving into life and death in Bell Hooks' All About Love. I want to leave you with one last quote from page 197. Love empowers us to live fully and die well. If that doesn't encompass Mom's life, I really don't know what does. I also want to bring your attention to my beautiful peacock bookmark that my dog Elaichi is also obsessed with. My mom bought it for me from India to encourage me to read again. And I just love using it because it gets me so excited about reading. If you're struggling to read and you need some motivation, I definitely recommend a beautiful bookmark.